Now everybody wants some blast of magic, 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 magic. I got the magic in me.
Welcome back to Bob's Magic Emporium. Time for the next all-new Magician 101, the show for all magicians. I love this show. It's a great show I do every week. It's Wednesday. That means time to answer your questions. We're going to jump right into them because we have like 7 questions this week. I'm really excited. So make sure to leave your questions down below for next week and I'll give them an answer. The first question comes from Taylor Lunsford Magic and he says, what do you think of Sabotage by Taylor Lunsford? Video on my channel. I took a look at it and I thought it was pretty cool. Now, I will say that out of the 2 effects that were shown on the demo, the one with the spectator didn't do so much for me, but the phone one, that is really cool. I liked that one. I thought that was the best one of the demo. And then you also say, his other comment was, I might make it into a bonus for the trick. When I talked about the card being the only reverse card. That's something I would have loved to have seen on the demo. I don't know if you're still working out the details about that. But I definitely think the phone thing was cool. The one with the phone and all the cards being in order. That was really cool. So I like it. I would definitely get it because I want to learn the phone thing. What I will say is you've never told people, especially in the comments of this video, maybe on your channel you have, but on here, I would love for you to post where you can get your tricks. Because I talk about them all the time. You ask me to review them, and then it's like, how do I go about getting some of the tricks? So leave that down below if you know you're watching this. So leave it down below and let me know. And let everybody else know where they can get your tricks from. Alright, and Philip E. says, when doing table hopping, how many tricks do you perform, or how much time do you stay at each table? This is a tough question because of the fact that it depends on how many tables you're going to do and the atmosphere of the room. When I did the table hopping gig a couple weeks ago, there was 8 tables. So I was at each table for 15 minutes and it worked out for me to be there an hour and a half, which is what the client wanted. So it depends. If the client says, I want you for just an hour, you've got to kind of adjust your timing. So if they say there's 10 tables and we want you an hour, you got to adjust for that amount of time and then do as many tricks as you can. What I did for that gig was at each table I did about 4 or 5 tricks and it worked out. It wasn't too much, but it wasn't not enough where they didn't feel like they were paid attention to. So I would say about 4 or 5 tricks, and depending on how many tables there are and what time limit your client wants, that's also something else. Now, some table hopping also, you don't have a set time limit. Sometimes, like if you're doing a restaurant and the restaurant says, I want you to do table hopping from 6 to 9, you really don't have a set time to go around to each table. And each circumstance is different. For my gig, it was 8 tables. I did about 10 minutes per table. All right, Richie Peters says, what do you think about the sucker die box? This guy right here. First of all, if you're following my Instagram, that was the Magic Shop mystery pick for last week. Just for you, Richie Peters. I did that because you asked about it. So that's why I did the sucker die box there. All right, sucker die box. If you don't know what the trick is, you sure it's a classic of magic. But if you don't, die goes in one side of the box. And you tilt the box over and you say the die has vanished. And they hear the die in the box slide. So they hear it go. And the kids catch on. They're like, oh, it's on the other side. And you do a little play with the audience. Also, what you can do is there's a joke I like in the routine where you say, oh, you want to see all the doors open at once. I turn the box around so the back of the box is facing the audience and I open up all 4 doors. The 2 on the lid and then the 2 doors. And that really is a lot of fun because that gets a laugh. But overall, I love the effect because at the end, when the die vanishes and then reappears somewhere else or just vanishes, that's a really cool little piece of magic. When I do the routine, I usually have a hat on my table, a nice tall hat. And I'll say most magicians put the die in the hat. But I don't do that, and I pull the die back out, I do the sucker die box, it vanishes, then I say, but, like I say, some magicians put the die in the hat, I don't, and then I pull the die out of the hat. So it brings it full circle. Alright, And the next question, so, to finish my thought there, Tucker Die Box, I really love it, and I think it's a great trick, and I definitely recommend getting it if you don't have it already, because it's a fun little piece of magic, and it works well for kids shows, for stage magic, any kind of magic really, except for close-up and street. I wouldn't do it on the street, but for stage, cabaret, kids parties, it rocks. All right, next question comes from Wayne Carter. He says, including street shows, how many gigs per year would you say you do? P.S. I love your shows. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Wayne Carter. I love the positive comment there. Okay, that's a tough question to answer because every year is different. It says, how many gigs per year would you say you do? Because sometimes I'll get a lot of kids' parties in one year or a lot of stage gigs, and some years I won't get as many as the previous year. And street shows, it depends on how many times I go to the beach. If I go once a year, it's, could be 2 or 3 street shows. If I go to the beach 3 times, last year I went to the beach twice, went for a weekend and then for a whole week. So I did a lot of street shows in that week. So I would say probably, and I also do the farmer's market too, and there's some weekends where the weather's bad and I don't go to the farmer's market. So I would probably say if I had to put a number on it, there's probably, it's hard to put a number on it. I would say no more than 100. That's probably highballing it. No more than 70, but no less than 20. So I would probably say about like 30 to 50 probably I do a year, I would say. And I also do gigs at my work, and sometimes I do magic on the fly too. So, sometimes people just are like, do a trick, and that's kind of I call that a mini show. So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to pick an actual number. All right, and finally, Brendan Shepard has the final question. I love this question. I read it, and I was like, I cannot wait to answer this one. He says, what are some magic tricks that you can do with a standard deck for street magic? I would like to learn 2 or 3 so I can get good and just carry a deck around. There are a lot of now, I'm going to give you some tricks that aren't good for street magic, but are some killer deck of card routines. One of them is, I know you already know the trick. I know you know how to do it. But I really say you need to perfect it and get this one down because everybody loves it when I do it. It's one of my biggest crowd pleaser tricks in my show. Chris Ballinger's Forced Outcome. I talk about this. Somehow this comes up every week in this show. But seriously, it's a great routine. It's a great trick to do. I'm going to move that over here. It's a great trick to do. It's fun. You get 2 magic moments in the routine where, they think you've messed up and then you show all the cards to be their card. It's a lot of fun. Really a fun routine to do. So, and I know you know how to do that, but anybody else needs to learn it. I would say reach out to Chris Ballinger on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter and ask him if he can send you the directions for that. I would love to do a tutorial for it, but I don't want to take his trick and do a tutorial for it, but I would really love to have one up on YouTube. So people, when I talk about it this much, people need to know how to do it. So maybe I'll message him and see if he'll be okay with that. Hey, that's an idea. All right, I'm getting off topic. So that's I would say that's the #1 trick you should learn, because that's one I love performing the most when I do a card trick. I always go to that one, especially if somebody says, if I have my cards in my pocket, somebody will usually say on the fly, hey, do a trick, and I'm like, this is the best one to do. Another good one I love doing is, I know somebody posted it a few weeks ago, the actual name of the trick, but it's the David Blaine 2-card Monty that he did on one of his street specials. I'm sorry, I should have got the name of that, but if you know it, post it down below, again, for me, a refresher for me. But that's a fun trick to do, too. That's a great magic trick, because you only need a regular deck of cards, and you do a really great routine where the spectators say, the card, every time I do it, they always go, but the cards never left my hand, and it's a great routine. They get baffled by it, and it's so much fun to see. Another really good one, you have to be really good at the sleight of hand move that's involved in this trick, but it's a lot of fun to do, and it can be found on the Bill Malone On the Loose DVDs. I think it's volume 1. I want to say it's volume 1. Actually, I have all the DVDs right here. So let me find where it is. No, not volume 1. I think it might be volume 2. Volume 2. So, Bill Malone, On the Loose, Volume 2, end of story. It's a killer ending for Brother John Hammond's Gemini Twins. The Gemini Twins is great, but Bill Malone adds a really nice ending to it, where all the cards are the same card at the end of the trick, and then you talk about how you only use 4 cards in the trick, and then you, boom, show, I only have the 1 card, so I only tell the story with the 1 card. It's a lot of fun to do. So it's a great piece of magic. And that brings me to one more point. You're looking for tricks that use a regular deck of cards. I would probably say 98% of all the Bill Malone stuff on his DVDs, on the Loose, Here I Go Again, and Malone Meets Marlowe, all of it is like stuff that's with a regular deck of cards. You don't need to add any cards to a deck. You don't need to really take cards away. You don't use gimmick decks. There is on the Here I Go Again, or on the Loose, there's one trick. It's his version of the Michael Skinner 3-card Monty, which needs a packet, and there's his invisible deck routine on here. But other than that, everything else can be done with a regular deck of cards, and only 1 regular deck, too. Sometimes some tricks are like you need 2 or 3 decks, but this you can do multiple tricks with 1 deck of cards. And so I recommend that if you're looking. And Bill Malone's funny. You're going to get a lot of comedy out of his DVDs, too. All right, so that's going to do it. So, again, to emphasize the 2 tricks that I really like with a normal deck of cards is the David Blaine 2-card Monty, Chris Ballinger's Forced Outcome, and also you can do Triumph, the Triumph trick with a regular deck of cards. If you're not sure how to do that, it's up on my channel for a School of Magic I did a while back ago. Go check that out, because you can do Triumph, and that's a really great thing too, when all the cards are mishmashed and then you have them all going the same way except for their card. That's a lot of fun. Oh, and one that I want to give a shout out to, Purple Link Lego 11. He told me about the Fantastic 5 trick, and that's another one that I did for the School of Magic. That's a fun one to do with a regular deck of cards as well. So check that one out. Fantastic 5, Triumph, the David Blaine 2-card Monty, and the Chris Ballinger's Forced Outcome. All right, I'm getting tongue-tied, so that means it's time to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's Magician 101. Make sure to comment down below your questions for next week, and I'll give them an answer. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next Wednesday for another all-new Magician 101. If you'd like to see more awesome content, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. New videos are posted every day of the week. Also, check out my website and register so you can post in the forums. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, like me on Facebook, add me to your Google Plus circles, and check out my merchandise store to pick up some awesome swag. 444RR, game shows, magic, and more.